Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Art and Garden with Viv, and today I am tackling a turkey. And on top of that, I am using a technique that I don't normally use. I am going to try to do a more comprehensive layering, like layer the whole turkey. Instead of my normal, I just usually start to finish one section at a time. I start it and finish it before I move on to another section of the painting. But in this one, I'm going to be more mindful, and I am going to try to do this in layers instead of sections. Layers over the whole turkey. And the way that I'm doing that is I am wetting the paper with clean water and then just dropping in my colors to map out colors and to map out shadows and to start some texture underneath. So that's what I'm doing there. And as I begin with all of these washes, I'm going to talk to you about something that many artists wrestle with, and that is trying something new. Sounds simple, right? But the truth is, most of us, new things feel uncomfortable to us. They feel risky, they feel a little scary. And when you're an artist, that fear can be even louder because everything you make feels so personal. Every brushstroke feels like a reflection of you. So today, as I'm experimenting with my new approach, I'm going to walk you through some of that emotional side of doing something new. I'm always talking to you, so I'm actually going to show you that I do walk the talk. Because right here is where the heart of growth is, trying something new. So as I'm moving around, adding these layers in, mapping out my colors, I want to acknowledge something important. Trying something new doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that your normal, tried and true technique is wrong. It just means that you're open to growth. But then I know fear can be sneaky. It sneaks on in there and it starts saying it, and it can sound so logical, guys. Oh my gosh. What if I ruin this painting? What if the technique doesn't suit me? What if I fail? But underneath every one of those little questions is a quieter truth. You're afraid because you care. You care about your art. You care about growing, and you care about creating something beautiful and meaningful. Fear doesn't show up when something doesn't matter to you. It only shows up when it does. So, as I go through each one of these layers, and I'm even still doing the layers and sections, so I'm sorry, guys. Old habits die hard, but I am still working toward it. So while I'm doing that, like I said, old habits die hard, trying to say too many things at once. And that's because it's part of my comfort zone. So let's talk about the comfort zones. They're just like a cozy little room with warm lighting and familiar tools. It's safe, it's predictable. You got your sweet tea with your slice of lemon. Everything feels good. But here's what most people don't realize. Those comfort zones that you love so much, they don't stay the same size. They shrink. When you avoid challenges and when you avoid doing something new, new experiences, when you avoid techniques that feel intimidating, your comfort zone slowly tightens around you. It can strangle you. And then one day you look around and realize you're stuck. You're repeating the same things, not because that's what brings you joy, but because that's what feels safe. Today, in this painting, I'm stepping outside of my little comfort zone. Okay, not dramatically because I'm still doing my washes and sections, but I'm moving toward it. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can just be one layer at a time, one section at a time, and that's often all it takes is that one small, brave moment at a time. So as I'm working through these tail feathers, I'm going to talk to you about a word that scares everybody, especially artists, and that's failure. But think about this. What if instead of treating failure like a stop sign, we saw it as information, as a teacher, or as some guidance? Every painting you've ever made, good or bad, I've said this many times, has taught you something. Every so-called failure has nudged you toward better judgment, stronger instincts, and more confidence. So if this turkey ends up completely different than I imagined it today, so what? So what? It just means today becomes a lesson. It's just a stepping stone. It's a small chapter in a much bigger art journey. I'm choosing to look at the big picture. So if you can embrace that idea, then nothing you try is ever wasted. It's not wasted. You're learning something. Now, I've talked to y'all before about that ugly stage, that you got to get through the ugly stage of your painting where, it's that soft, like awkward middle stage, and it doesn't look like much yet. And that's the hardest part, is getting through that stage, because that's when most people want to quit. And that's not just in art, that's in life. That messy middle where you're not a beginner anymore, but you're not really confident either. You're just in transition. We're transitioning into better artists, hopefully. And you might think something's gone wrong because it looks unfinished or uneven or unclear. But that's exactly what growth looks like. You see this. It looks like a fuzzy little turkey. But I'm starting to add a little detail here and there. I'm adding a few more shadows. I'm adding another layer. And that's exactly what growth looks like. Growth is rarely pretty when it's happening. Rarely. It's layered, it's unpredictable, it's uncomfortable. Just like this turkey right now. Don't laugh at my turkey, y'all. But layer by layer, you start to build the clarity. It starts to look clear, like his head, for example. Right now, I'm adding those details, sharper details, on top of these layers, and the head is really starting to emerge away from the body and look more realistic. So layer by layer, brushstroke by brushstroke, it's just revealing itself. You don't have to know the ending to trust the process. And I'm always telling you, please trust the process, enjoy it, embrace it. Now, as I'm deepening these shadows behind the turkey's head, that's pushing that turkey's head out even more. I'm really using some dark contrast here. I'm trying to avoid the tips of the feathers because the tips of the feathers are light and I don't want to paint over those. And I'm not really doing like exact feathers. I'm just doing shapes to indicate feathers. So what I'm trying to tell you is it doesn't have to be perfect feathers. You can just do indications of feathers and replace that perfection with curiosity. What will it look like if I put these little half moons here? What will it look like if I do these lines across the belly of the turkey, across the wings of the turkey? So again, replace perfection with some curiosity. Curiosity is always, what happens if I try this? What if I mix this color? What if this layer adds something magical? Curiosity creates that openness and it creates possibilities. It makes art fun again. That's another reason I was getting bored with my art. So that's another reason I'm trying a whole new technique. And I decided to film it for you. But we've talked about this too. Perfection, on the other hand, it freezes you. It just freezes you cold. Tells you to stay safe, stay small, and stay predictable. But you are not here to stay small. You're here to explore, to experiment, to grow. Curiosity opens that door and growth walks right through it. Now, if you want a step-by-step tutorial of this turkey with a supply list, an outline drawing, and tips and tricks on how to paint it, as well as the full-length video, then consider joining my Patreon and becoming a patron at the $5 level. $5 and up, they get the supply list, they get the full video, and they also get outline drawings and tips. So I just thought I'd mention that in case you're wondering, or in case you're interested. You might want to check that out. I'll link it below. Now, as I am working through all these little details, building up these layers, I want you to notice something. You don't have to feel confident to begin. You don't have to feel ready. You just have to be willing. Willing to try, willing to learn, and willing to be imperfect in exchange for growth. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward with the fear and choosing to begin anyway. I think there's a famous quote about it, about doing that. And every artist you admire, I promise you, has done this. Every technique that you love started with somebody saying, I don't know how to do this yet, but I'll try. And that's one of my sayings. I have never let not knowing how to do something stop me from doing it. So look how my turkey is slowly taking form now. It went from that fuzzy kind of middle ground. It's starting to have some detail. It's starting to take shape. It's starting to become more three-dimensional and dynamic. Now, it wasn't dramatic. It was just these slow, intentional, patient layers. And this is the truth of artistic breakthroughs. They never come with giant leaps. They always come, most of the time, from small risks just repeated over time. Trying a new brush, using a new color, changing your approach just slightly, letting go of old habits to make room for new discoveries. Your biggest artistic growth often comes from these small little experiments. Now, I'm getting close to starting into some of my details. I'm darkening in these shadows, and then I'm doing washes over them to soften them. I'm adding more color. And I'm going to have to say the painting isn't exactly in my control right now. I'm just working on instinct and just trying to keep myself moving forward, and that's okay. Because watercolor especially loves to surprise us. Sometimes you'll get little blooms in unexpected directions. Sometimes it leaves softer edges or deeper shadow than I planned, or we planned, or you planned. Instead of fighting that, let the process just surprise you. And so far, this process has surprised me. And let it teach you something new. Let it show you a version of your art that you didn't know you were even capable of. You don't grow by controlling everything. You grow by collaborating with the process. Remember, I say, enjoy the process. Now, my turkey is coming together beautifully. I'm very happy with it. And let me remind you of something important. You're capable of more than you believe. You are more creative, you are more resilient, and you are more courageous. Your comfort zone is not your home. Let me say that again. Your comfort zone is not your home. It's just a starting point. It's like your little launching pad. Every new technique you try, every risk you take, every layer you build expands what you're capable of. Growth happens in the unknown. That's what it is. It's the unfamiliar. In the brave, shaky steps outside what you already know. So take those steps outside of what you already know. Look at it this way. It's just paper and paint. You can throw it away. You can start again. So don't get hung up on that kind of stuff. And I think you're ready for that. I think you should get ready for that. If you're not ready for that, you should be. Now, as I'm trying to get these very last details and wrap up this painting, I want you to think of one thing, just one, that you've been afraid to try in your art. Maybe it's a new medium, or a new color palette, a new subject, a new style, or just a new way of painting, like the layering I used today. Now, this took me a long time for several reasons. One, it was very unfamiliar to me, and two, I had to keep pushing through, and it just took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. But that's okay. I want you to still do it. Whatever it is, I want you to take one small step toward it. Not tomorrow, not someday, but the next time you sit down to create. Because you deserve to see what you're capable of. You deserve to grow. You deserve to surprise yourself. And I promise you, if you try new things, you will surprise yourself. You will be amazed at what you are capable of. Everything you want for your art, everything you dream of creating, everything that just feels just out of reach, lives just beyond your comfort zone. And I think I've heard other people say this, it lives on that other side of fear. Everything you want, I think that's a quote, everything you want lives on the other side of fear. Take that step, one layer at a time like I did. You got this. And I believe in you. So back to my little turkey. All I'm doing now is he has a white band on his top feathers there, his back tail feathers, and I just took a little gray and defined them, and now I am just blending in some more of that color, and I think it came out really great. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Again, check out the Patreon if you want the full tutorial.